Mr. Sinister is an interesting character. Specifically interesting because he only has just enough alternate versions to make this list. Thankfully, one of those came out last year and was awesome, so we're gonna start this list with that one and go from there. So, this is the top 10 alternate versions of Mr. Sinister. Number 10, the 2019 relaunch / Powers of X. Oh my god, I love this Sinister. Like, this line alone. I love that cape. Amazing. Why do I not have a cape? How do I not have a cape? This entire page is like the best comic relief Sinister, and I love it. And then he kills a guy. And then another Sinister kills that Sinister, and like, dear god, this guy is awesome. Psst. It's me, the Sinister with the mutant gene, and if you must know, my mutant power is overthrowing tyrants and looking absolutely fabulous. Also, he definitely has a cape. This guy needs to be voiced by Tim Curry. Anyway, in a dark future, the remaining mutants fall into two types, pre-war and chimeras, which are mutants with multiple abilities at once who are engineered by Mr. Sinister. And really, that is all you need to know about this guy. He's an awesome mad scientist, he's got a beautifully fun personality, and his lines are awesome to read. This reboot is off to a great start. Number 9, Miss Sinister. Ah yes, the goth leather queen version of Mr. Sinister. Her real name is Claudine Renko, and while she is a failsafe designed in case Sinister's Cronus device failed, she doesn't possess all his memories or his mind. Claudine eventually seeks help as she appears to be suffering from injuries inflicted by Wolverine's son, Daken. Daken? I have no idea how you pronounce that. However, after being attacked by X-23, the injury to Claudine's body morphs into that of Mr. Sinister. Claudine reveals that she was at one point an ordinary woman, but while seeking immortality, she was willingly infected with a virus which would grant her a healing factor. However, the virus was actually designed to transform her into a host of Mr. Sinister as it contained his own DNA and would lead to his resurrection. When the Cronus device failed, the virus activated and Claudine was compelled to go to a laboratory in the desert where she would be used as a host. Claudine attempted to stop the transformation, but only succeeded in delaying the inevitable. With everything on the line, she sought to occupy the body of X-23 and in the process obtain her healing factor. However, Mr. Sinister uses Laura's body to wound Claudine. X-23 manages to expel Mr. Sinister from her mind and escapes with Alice and Gambit as the laboratory collapses. However, in the wreckage left behind, Claudine is still alive and is being watched over by the 5th Alice clone, the new host of Essex, aka Mr. Sinister.
I've watched you, tracked you, studied you. You are the prototypes, the chosen ones.
Number 8, Age of Apocalypse. In the Age of Apocalypse storyline, Sinister was the first horseman selected by Apocalypse and was present when Apocalypse killed Professor X. Sinister also adopted the Summers brothers, Alex and Scott, as he found that they were the closest thing to genetic perfection, Scott in particular, and hoped to use them to create the most powerful mutant on the planet. After discovering that the combined DNA of Jean Grey and Scott would create a mutant stronger than any other, Sinister carried out his creation and created Nate Grey and hit him with a traveling theater troupe of mutants. However, Sinister soon realized that his vision of the future and Apocalypse's were at odds. Sinister revealed Apocalypse's plan to unleash an attack on the humans in Europe to Weapon X and Jean Grey, leading the Human High Council to prepare a full-scale nuclear assault on Apocalypse's kingdom. Sinister sought out his creation, Nate Grey, and after locating him, infiltrated the group under the name Essex and bonded with Nate. However, his identity was discovered by Brute, who recognized Sinister from his time in Sinister's breeding pens. Sinister in response murdered Brute. Nate, furious after the loss of his friends, unleashed all of his powers on Sinister, causing Sinister to fall to the ground and die from massive internal injuries. However, Sinister survived and collected what was believed to be a deceased Jean Grey and used her connection to the Phoenix Force to save the world. But Magneto instead was credited with saving the world. Sinister revealed the truth to him and blackmailed him to keep the X-Men away. However, upon her death, Paige Guthrie revealed the truth of what Magneto was hiding to the X-Men. Magneto revealed the situation to the other X-Men and later found Sinister hidden on Liberty Island with Jean Grey under his control. Jean eventually broke free from Sinister's control, and after blasting him with Phoenix Force energy, Weapon X and Curika impaled Sinister, killing him. Number 7. What If Mr. Sinister formed the X-Men. In What If issue 74, What If Mr. Sinister formed the X-Men, Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, is a member of the X-Men. Only, it isn't the X-Men as we know them. In this alternate reality, Mr. Sinister has been manipulating the mind of Scott ever since he was a child, even going so far as to create a false Jean Grey and forming his own team of X-Men. Sinister acts as a mentor figure to Scott, although, unbeknownst to him, he has other plans for him. As the story draws to its climax, Scott hesitates to trust Sinister at the last moment, finding a connection with the original Jean Grey that neither one of them could truly explain. However, because of his hesitation, Sinister is killed by Magneto and the Brotherhood, or so we're led to believe. As it turns out, all the events that transpired were part of Sinister's plan. Scott joins the original X-Men team under Professor Xavier, but a final monologue from Sinister reveals that Scott has chosen to fulfill the plans of Sinister, and while it's left ambiguous, that can only spell doom for the X-Men. Number 6. What If Gambit. While this is pretty much your standard Mr. Sinister, in this version of the comic, he's allied himself with Gambit, whose only goal is to find a way to be with the one he loves, Rogue. Trusting Sinister, he becomes an informant for him in exchange for a cure. However, Sinister seeks to obtain a Tith box, as they possess, as he puts it, knowledge. Gambit succeeds in delivering the box and obtaining the cure. However, despite using the cure, Rogue still kills Gambit. Infuriated, she attacks Sinister and kills him, but not before he speaks the ominous words, "Beware, Rogue. This is one secret you'll wish died with me." The secret being that their entire lives are chronicled in comic books. So I guess Sinister became this universe's first collector. Go figure, Sinister's a nerd. Number 5. X-Men The End. In X-Men The End, Mr. Sinister blackmails Gambit into kidnapping the children of Scott Summers and Emma Frost, and his own children with Rogue. Sinister reveals to Gambit that Gambit is a clone of Sinister, and that his powers are an alternate version of Cyclops, developed after Sinister implants some of Cyclops' DNA into Gambit in an attempt to duplicate his powers. Sinister is able to turn himself into an exact duplicate of Gambit in this universe, which he uses to kill Rogue. However, to avenge her adopted daughter's death, Mystique kills Sinister. While there's nothing too unique about this particular version of Sinister, he does have an interesting story arc, so he makes my list. Number 4. Colossus. Just like I mentioned in my Colossus video, during a conversation with Nightcrawler, Colossus reveals that he was Mr. Sinister, and lived as an enemy to his friends, betraying who he was, all for the sake of his love for Jean Grey. You know what? If you love someone enough to try to kill all your friends and betray who you really are, I can't say you're all bad. I mean, you're pretty bad, but I mean, at least you had like one friend. Yikes. Number 3. X-Men Spider-Man. Mr. Sinister's machinations for mutant kind yet again rear their ugly head in this crossover between X-Men and Spider-Man. Set across different periods of time, Mr. Sinister's years-long plans to come to fruition by obtaining the DNA of multiple mutants and a sample of the symbiote Carnage's DNA. Sinister creates a clone of Kraven the Hunter, which calls itself X-Raven. I have no idea how you would say that. X-Raven possesses the powers of all the X-Men whose DNA was obtained by Sinister. However, after fighting with the X-Men and Spider-Man, the clone turns on its creator and attacks Mr. Sinister. It's left ambiguous what happened between the two, but one can imagine a clone with that many powers turning on its master? Probably not good. Number 2. X-Men Forever. In X-Men Forever, Mr. Sinister is actually a combo armored suit hologram used by Nathan Essex to command the Marauders. Why, you ask? Because this version of Mr. Sinister is in the body of a 10-year-old. And let's face it, no one is following a 10-year-old into battle. There's so much to say about this Sinister. He only appears briefly and orders a kidnapping of Chris Summers. Still, a 10-year-old. Kind of a neat twist on the character. Number 1. Ultimate Marvel. This version of Sinister actually changes quite a bit. He's been redesigned as a street thug named after his tattoo. Seemingly a schizophrenic, this version of Sinister was actually an Oscorp scientist who performed experiments on himself and began hallucinating of Lord Apocalypse, who instructs him to kill mutants to complete his transformation. However, after killing himself, Sinister resurrects and transforms into Apocalypse. There was a storyline beyond this where after the Phoenix Force destroys Apocalypse's body, Sinister is reformed by the Ultimatum Wave and works with Layla Miller. However, their mission never completes as the Ultimate Universe ended because of a phenomenon known as the Incursion. Ah well. We briefly got Apocalypse Sinister, so I guess that's enough. Hope you enjoyed this look at Mr. Sinister, a villain whose personality seems to have changed, in my opinion, for the better. This reboot version seems way more fun, but perhaps some of you like the more sinister style. I'm just always partial to a bit of comic relief. What do you think? Which Sinister would you rather see? I'd actually love to see this version of Sinister in the next Deadpool movie. Anyway, have a good one.
Nothing you do will stop my master plans.
Wait. Are you stuck in there?
No, that would be ridiculous.